Hi, welcome to Reflections of a Diva. Today we are tackling a serious subject regarding mandatory sentencing. And we have very startling statistics regarding this research that Chris has done. Chris, would you like to share?
Yes, in 1986, University of Maryland star D.I.V.A died from a drug overdose. Assuming that it was crack cocaine, a law was enacted, the Anti-Abuse Drug Law of 1986. However, after finding out that it was cocaine, the law was not changed because it was already enacted. Startling statistics, 5 grams of cocaine equals a mandatory 5-year sentence. However, 500 grams of cocaine equal the same sentence. That's crazy. Hi ladies, what do you all think about that?
Welcome everybody. Hello. And I think Tahira is very passionate about this subject.
Yeah, I am definitely passionate about it because after I read 1986, when this Anti-Drug Abuse Act was enacted, the effect it had on the American population, it had more of a severe effect on African Americans. But when I think about drug use and Americans, everyone in America is using drugs, whether it's prescription drugs. I mean, we're on something, whether it's birth control or allergy medication. We're a drug-infested country. So it's not the fact that you're using drugs, it's the fact that the laws are it's a huge disparity. For example, what Chris was saying, with crack cocaine, even though the American Medical Association believes that crack cocaine and powder cocaine is equally addictive and equally as harmful, there is a 100-to-1 disparity ratio, meaning you can have 5 grams of crack cocaine and get 5-year sentencing, or you can have 500 grams of powder cocaine and get the same sentences. So the 100-to-1 ratio is like the biggest disparity on the drug books right now on the U.S. Sentencing Committee. And the fact that marijuana is the #1 cash crop in America, and the fact that almost everyone uses drugs, I don't think that drugs should be treated as a crime. It should be treated as a medical illness, which it is. It's a medical illness, not a crime, and we need to discontinue locking people up for using drugs because it's harmful and it's destroying families, it's destroying everyone. And that's just my belief. And it's the belief of the U.S. Sentencing Commission too. The U.S. Sentencing Commission agrees that the drug laws are unfair and unjust. So it's not just my belief, it's everyone's belief.
I agree to hear 80% of the crack cocaine drug offenses are committed by African Americans. However, 66% of the crack cocaine users are white or Hispanic. Yeah. I thought that was very startling.
And then the drug kingpins, they're not the ones who's getting in jail. They are your street hustlers. Right. Those are the ones who are going down getting the biggest amounts of time, which is, and then there's, within that act, it makes mention that if you can give them information about, somebody high enough, if you can give them good enough information about somebody higher up, then you could reduce your sentence. Well, the average street hustler doesn't have that information. So he's in jail for 10 years and up and all for having a lot less than, his white counterpart who may be selling cocaine or maybe selling a lot more of something, and then we're not, like I said, the drug kingpins, they're not getting affected by this, as in legally, very rarely. Right. It's more of the street hustlers than it is.
And it seems like they would want the kingpin, since that's the
person. That's what they're saying. Right. That's what it says as a technicality of the law, but the reality is, they're not the ones. They're not the ones who's getting taken down.
I think we touched upon it already about how race plays an impact in these laws. In any law, race plays an impact, I think, right? So, I mean, I wish we lived in a world where there was a pot of gold at the end of every rainbow and that we awakened every day to butterfly kisses and there was no crime and whatever. But it exists. Racism exists. And, of course, it's going to impact the laws. So the research that I did shows, just like you were saying, Chris, that even though white kids are doing drugs at the same rate or even more perhaps, depending on certain drugs, as African American and Hispanic kids, the African American and Hispanic kids are the ones going to jail at higher rates than the white kids. That sucks, absolutely. It sucks that federal money is not given oftentimes to kids that are trying to pursue careers in higher education. You know, they can withhold that money. That sucks because when you think about withholding education from our kids, what's that do when you think about our race moving forward, right? However, I have to say, Tahira, I think there might be a slight difference between somebody who uses Tylenol, perhaps, versus somebody who might use crack cocaine. Some might argue, you might not agree with me. I think there might be a slight difference between using caffeine or, you know, a painkiller versus using crack cocaine or, you know, heroin or whatever. But I mean, I'm not here to debate which drug is worse or best than other drugs. You know, I'm not here to debate that, but some might agree that that might be a little bit different.
Personally, I think it's a difference between what's legal and what's illegal and the choices that we make. As I started to do my research, I kind of wanted to go into the Word and see just what God thought about this issue. And in Romans 13:1-5, it says, "Obey the government, for God is the one who put it there. All governments have been placed in power by God. So those who refuse to obey the laws of the land or refusing to obey God, and punishment will follow. For the authorities do not frighten people who are doing right, but they frighten those who are doing wrong." And Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be misled. Remember that you cannot ignore God and get away with it. You will always reap what you sow. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful desires will harvest the consequences of decay and death." So everything starts with choices that we make. Yes, some may argue that it may be legal, it may be illegal, but it's a choice that you make. We live in America. It's not legal to do certain drugs, so don't do it.